Hello, you're listening to Cheat Sheet, the podcast that gets you up to speed with what you need to know without the doom scrolling.
With RidgeandFrost and Sophie Ridge on Wednesday, the 5th of November. Sophie, what are the key headlines?
Well, President Trump's worst nightmare, the Democrat Zohran Mamdani, has won the New York mayoral election.
We've also got a new national curriculum facing some massive changes, including a new qualification on AI.
Plus, what's it like having the hardest job in the country? We've got an interview with the former England manager, Gareth Southgate. So, a big breaking story for you this morning. The Democrat, the self-declared Donald Trump worst nightmare, Zohran Mamdani, has won the New York mayoral election.
I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this. And yet, if tonight teaches us anything, it is that convention has held us back.
I should say it's one of a series of votes that's happened in the US as well. You know, the biggest task for Donald Trump's administration since his own election win a year ago. And I guess in some ways, you know, the first big real fight back from the Democrats as well.
Definitely. And so the three races you're talking about, Mamdani winning New York City mayor, and then the other two significant ones, New Jersey governor and Virginia governor, going the way of the Democrats. What I'd say as you look at that all overall, New York City mayor almost certainly was going to go Democrat. New Jersey governor was almost certainly going to go Democrat. The Virginia one's interesting because that's a flip. It was previously Glenn Youngkin of the Republicans, and all three were campaigning on quite a clear anti-Trump ticket, but then actually all three are quite different from each other. I think the story of the night, though, is Mamdani, because this is the youngest mayor of New York since 1892. He's 34. It's the highest turnout in this race since 1969. More than 2 million people voted. First Muslim mayor of New York, first mayor born in Africa. And he kind of came from nowhere less than a year ago with very little funding. And we heard a little bit of it in that clip. I think he was just unapologetically himself. He was authentic, he was energetic, and he said in that clip, I'm a democratic socialist and I refuse to apologize for this. So I think if there's a lesson for the Dems going forward, and looking back to last year a little bit, is have a primary race. Let the authentic person, the best candidate, rise to the top. Don't try and force some centrally picked conventional candidate on the electorate.
I'm so interested as well, I have to say, in the route across to the UK here, because there are some real parallels that I can see as well with politics here. You know, Mamdani won on a left-wing ticket. You know, he wasn't trying to be anything, as you say, but himself. He's talking about affordable housing. He's talking about wealth taxes. It reminds me, I've got to say, of Zach Plansky of the Green Party over here. And I think the fact that he had this astonishing victory in New York should potentially give Labour pause for thought over here, right? You know, are they copying the right playbook? Are they being complacent when they look at the Green Party, who've been polling really well?
Couldn't agree more. And I'll end on this thought. The one thing that united those three Democratic candidates that won overnight was anti-Trump, and cost of living was top of the agenda. And it's very similar to what you say here. Yes, the rate of inflation has fallen, but what people have to spend on every single day is much higher than it was a few years ago. That was his number one issue, Mamdani, and it clearly cut through. Next up, national curriculum in schools in the UK is facing the biggest shake-up in decades, Sophie, and there are lots of changes in this. But the one that's grabbing headlines is a new A-level that's going to focus on AI.
And this makes sense, doesn't it? Let's be honest, because the jobs market is going through the biggest transformation for like a generation, if not more. Graduate jobs are already under massive pressure. You know, we're going to be needing plumbers, not coders, having a qualification in AI. I don't think anyone would argue against that. It makes sense. Interestingly as well, they're also going to be teaching kids in primary school how to spot fake news, how to identify misinformation and disinformation. But it's all about modernising it, right, as well, which I think does make sense. I mean, there's a couple of things that I think could be more controversial, not least the fact that they want to introduce a reading test in year 8. I mean, I don't know who could look at the curriculum and think, oh my goodness, what kids need is more exams systems than what they have already. But, financial literacy as well, things like budgeting, mortgages are going to be taught too. So more kind of practical skills that I think most people would welcome.
I think financial literacy is critical, and as a nation, we're not particularly good at that. I think that's going to get folded into the maths curriculum, and it's sort of making maths more applicable to everyday life. What I'd say about the AI stuff, we already have a computer science A-level, so I don't know if it's a new one on AI or it's being adapted, but do you know what's going to be critical for that is maths. Now, Rishi Sunak got quite criticised for focusing heavily on maths. This is one of those areas where you hope the politicians don't try and score points. Let's just do what's best for the kids. But I'm sure this, if it's going to work, will need us to push more into maths. And if that's the case, I hope it happens as opposed to political point scoring. As a nation, we are fantastic at producing a small percentage of the very best mathematicians. Our breadth in maths has fallen in the last couple of decades, more broadly as a nation.
Genuine question. Isn't AI going to deal with that for us? Maths?
If we want to be a nation that follows America's AI lead and use the tools they build, fine. But if we want to build the tools and be a nation that innovates and creates great AI technology ourselves, we need maths.
Now, I don't know about you, Wilf, but I'm not sure there's much more annoying than your phone ringing, it's an unknown number, you think it's an emergency, you think it's your doctor, you think it's your boss, and then no, it's a junk message, right? It's a scammer. I find that really frustrating. But hopefully the number of these calls we all get could actually start to go down, because the UK's biggest mobile networks are coming together to crack down on the scammers. So look, BT, EE, Vodafone 3, Virgin Media, O2, they're all promising to introduce new call tracing technology. And the idea is that they can kind of hunt down foreign-based scanners and stop them happening, right? They think they can eliminate these calls within a year, which feels ambitious, right?
Well, do you know what? I was reading and thinking, surely the technology exists for them to do this already. But why, with the technology that exists today, surely they can rule it out almost quicker than that. So anyway, it'd be great if they achieve it. Do you know what my takeaway is from this? That if you wonder when you get a junk call whether it could be our boss, it means you don't have our boss's number saved in your phone, which maybe I need to do as well.
It's a great tip, that. Sorry, who's this? New phone. And it is serious, I should say. It's serious because, look, these scammers do cost people money as well, right? So, yeah, it's not just annoying.
Gareth Southgate, Sir Gareth Southgate, no less, former England manager and much loved, I think, high-profile Briton Englishman. Since finishing as England manager, he's evolved his career and trying to help others a lot. And he's got a new book out, Sophie. It's called Dear England, Lessons on Leadership. And he's spoken to our Rob Harris.
So the world is more transient, and I think we are wrestling with that a little bit. What was our national identity 50, 60 years ago was probably a lot clearer. But it doesn't mean people are less passionate about being English. I know what that means to me, being English, being British. And I do think we often highlight the disunity more. There's more noise around that, but I think there's quietly more unity than people might think.
It's so interesting to hear him on the unity issues, about what the St George's Cross means, because, look, it has been a really hot topic of debate, and people will have different views listening to this podcast. Some will think it's been politicised. Others will think that finally there's pride in flying the flag again. But Gareth Southgate is someone who's thought really deeply about some of these issues. He has managed to unite the country behind the flag previously. And I just think, what he has to say on things like, boys, young men, all of these things, role models, after uniting a team that was pretty disparate, I'll be honest, before he took over as manager, he's worth listening to.
Well, and he got the fans behind the team as well. It wasn't just uniting the players, was it? It was a national sense of excitement and pride. I completely agree. Full interview is available on the Sky News app. We are out of time. That was today's cheat sheet. Thanks so much again for listening. By the way, as we said before, please do get in touch with us. Our email is cheatsheet@sky.uk. You can follow us, both of us individually, of course, on various social media platforms. Thanks so much for listening.